Happy Friday traders. So it's 12:36 Friday afternoon here in the UK. My name's Mark, I'm from the Lifestyle Trader. So it's been an interesting week in the markets. We sent out a video earlier on in the week, I think it was Tuesday, looking at a trading opportunity on the euro. Now from some of the feedback, initially people saw that trade, but obviously we didn't send out the exact entries and methods of trading because that's something that we hold in the Lifestyle Traders Club. It did finish up a trade where we didn't make any money, but we also didn't lose any money, and the reason for that is we had a first take profit target, which meant the second part of the trade was risk free. And the initial move from the news on Tuesday was fantastic with the dollar CPI, and that came down, hit our first target by 2 pips, and then stopped and reversed pretty much on the spot, and then took us out of our second position for no gains. So nothing too dramatic there, but what we're looking at now is still the dollar, and we still believe that mid-term we're going to see some short term we're going to see some dollar strength. There's obviously news coming out later on today that should maybe give it a little bit of a kickstart, but what we should see is that this area here, if this breaks, then obviously what we're going to see is we're going to see the dollar sell off quite dramatically. If it holds, which we are envisaging and sort of expecting to somewhat, only short term we're looking for it to rally back up into the 91 to 92 areas we forecasted back here, and we got that initial move, but potentially this is now going to form a double bottom. We can see that there's divergence potentially about to form on the chart. This is an end of day chart, daily chart, so this move won't correct and we won't see the stochastics roll over until next week. But what we'll see is on different charts, so when we correlate this information across the euro and sterling and yen and gold, you'll see that, and Kiwi, you'll see that potentially this move is about to happen. All these other markets are at extremes. So the euro came into 125. This is a trade I was actually stopped on yesterday. It was a risky trade. It was something that I sent out to our lifestyle traders because they do like to know the riskier trades that I take. This was one of them, and one of them was on dollar yen, because there's too many confluences between the dollar index and all these extremes that I had a short signal on the 125 even handle, and I'm looking to run this down to 127.5. And some of our viewers commented earlier this week saying that they see euro strength, and ultimately so do we, but short term we're anticipating the dollar strength to push this market back down to 120.75, and then we're expecting the market to push back on and head right up above the 130s and somewhere around 135, and we'll look at that later. But you know, if we go up to the weekly chart, let's have a look. You know, 128 will be sort of next barrier, but really the next major level is 138, 136 in this region here. This is where the next major structure levels are when you look left. So we're looking for a push back down. If we look at the measured moves and we talk about how the market will move in particular waves, well, we see this, and then we've seen a little bit of a correction. So if we, oh sorry, I keep moving the chart, and if we then move this over to here, we'll see that the next sort of measured move will bring us into the 131.60 area, which that'll be where I'd anticipate we'll get a little bit of a stall. But in the meantime, let's look for trading opportunities that make sense, and there's too many points of confluence now. And if we look at this on a 4-hourly chart, what you'll see is, let me just zoom into the current area. We've got to wait for this 4-hour candle to close, but we've got a nice evening star formation forming. Markets oversold, overbought. We're in big even handle, 125. We've seen the dollar index reach a major support level, and now we've got price action agreeing with what we're seeing. So essentially this market is prime for a sell right now. If we look at GBP USD, well, this is a market we sold this morning. That was a trade we were looking at, but a market we sold this morning was this one here. Three bouncers, sell stop. Yes, there's an element of structure here. This is going to be an area of concern, but currently right now This is a risk-free trade. We're over 1.5% up on this market, so this is an area of concern. But we envisage that the cable is going to come down to 136 and potentially this trend line before we can get that resurgence. And I've told you in previous videos that this is a trade that I'm already waiting for. So we've seen the initial move. The question is, are we gonna bounce off here and come back and test this trend line again, or are we gonna come through? And if we do, fantastic. We'll look to hold this position and maybe even take an add-in trade next week from this level all the way down to 136. So that's looking really nice. Yesterday we also had limit orders sat in on the yen at 106, so that was literally just here, and stops underneath right down here at 105.50. Came very close to stopping us out, but we've had the kickstart. It's moving. Our first take profit isn't too far away, but you'll see there's a descending trend line on the hourly chart and the 4-hourly chart, whichever one you look at, that the yen is going to have to break through first. We will be looking and forecasting at buying this next shoulder, so we're looking at the market to rally up into the 110s, to sell off, and then we'll buy again, looking for that market to run up into the 113s as we originally forecast. These two trend lines here are long-term trend lines. The red one is based off closing price and the blue one here is based off the tips of the wicks. And you can see that the market has come right down into structure and we've got that morning star formation forming. We're just waiting for the 4-hour close, and that'll be more sentiment that the bulls are back in. And we would expect to see a nice solid push on from the dollar, running up into at least 108.50s into this structure here, but I'd like to see it come up test here. Then we'd look to buy this first higher low on the 4-hourly or daily, depending how the market forms. Other market we're going to look at is Kiwi, because this one is also into major structure area. This is another one we've sold. I'll just show you this on the higher time frame. So this is the 4-hourly chart. So let's just look. You can see that I'll just zoom it out a little bit, so a bit more detail. So you can see this gray zone. This is the weekly zone. Obviously we've got the extremes right up here, but let's bring this into context with what's happening in the market right now. So we've seen major extremes come through here and we've seen many rejections. The question is this going to be the next one? So what we look for, again, we've got price tennis ball action formation, price slowing down. We've got evening star formation, but I did sell this as a limit order yesterday based on the extremes with stops above the highs, and we're now fast approaching our target 1. Ultimately, if you're a more conservative trader, you can wait for this candle formation to complete and then use that as your sell signal, trade to the bottom of the range. There's about a 500 pip reward here if you're looking at the full range. So let's bring this down. There'll be potentially, if it stays anything like this at the close of play, come Sunday open, there's a nice end of day trade. You're looking at sell stops around 7385. You know, if it was to come all the way back down to the bottom of the range, that's 6850. It's a 500 pip reward trade. And now if you look at that based on those numbers, you're talking a 9-to-1 trade. Okay guys, that's a weekly overview and some potential trading opportunities here from Mark at Trade and Train, the lifestyle trader. If you do like our information, our content that is delivered to you, please let us know. A simple way of doing that is by hitting like, subscribe, meaning that you'll get all the videos sent to your inbox free of charge and no time delay. Stay in the loop and comment below. Share it with any other fellow traders and we'll be happy to oblige with any other videos that you might like making for content purposes. Okay, we do have a live event here in London on the 22nd of February, so just 6 days away. If you do like trading or you're wanting to get into trading, I suggest register for the event. You can do that by going to my Instagram page, or I'll put a link in the comments below. And we've got about 10 spaces available so far. It'd be great to see you down there, and you can come and meet some fellow members of the Lifestyle Traders Club. Okay guys, have a great weekend and we look forward to seeing you next week.